Biden administration is now trying to change the media's narrative after they were, frankly, caught late Wednesday quietly giving a green light for construction of a border wall in Texas. Well, President Biden is saying he had no choice. But now DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas has come out trying to make it loud and clear that the Biden administration maintains that they do not believe a border wall does anything.
There is no new administration policy with respect to the border wall. From day one, this administration has made clear that a border wall is not the answer. That remains our position, and our position has never wavered.
Wow, this is just stunning. You wonder how in the world do these people keep going. This administration now is flip-flopping, saying that they are still against a border wall. Well, should they be against a border wall? Well, joining me now to discuss this and much more, Congressman Keith Self. He is a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee as well as the House Republican Study Committee. He represents the 3rd Congressional District of Texas. Congressman Self, always great to see you. Welcome back to Washington Watch.
Thank you so much, Tony. I'm very hoarse. I spent an hour with the group last night, and I'm paying the price for it today.
Well, you are hoarse, but thank you, in spite of it all, for joining us. Listen, before we get to the border, Keith, we got to get a latest update as to what's happening on the speaker's election. Where do we stand right now with that, and what do you anticipate going into next week?
Well, we're being called back Monday to start conference meetings, and I will tell you, I think that it's going to be a very difficult time because the motion to vacate, which has been a part of our history since the beginning, it has been changed once. That was after Mark Meadows actually moved to vacate under John Boehner. So it was changed then. The Democrats actually changed it, so people are calling for it to be changed now. So I think it will be a centerpiece of the discussions going forward, and I think a centerpiece of the speaker's race will cause us to lose even more time. I'm calling for people to just get back to work. Let's get back to the appropriations bills and do our work so that we don't have an omnibus at the end of the year.
Yeah, listen, that is of such critical importance right now, and you're talking about the timing of all of this. That's what just creates a lot of angst with a lot of people, and I know with your colleagues as well. I understand that there's a group of about almost 50 now, 4 dozen or so, who are calling, Republican members who are calling for a change to the motion to vacate. Do you think that's going to gather more momentum?
Well, I don't know about the momentum, but remember, it takes 218 to change any of the rules. Now, we can change the rules with 218, but I think it would be disastrous for them to cross over to the Democrats, which I don't think would support it anyway. So I think the conference has got to pull together. We've got to come together. We've got to make the decision to move forward with our job, which is to fund the government, which is to get the appropriations bills passed.
Well, listen, y'all have got your hands full, and I want you to know so many millions and millions and millions of us out here appreciate it, and we're praying for each of you as you go back into session next week. If we can, Congressman, let's switch to the border situation right now. You being in Texas, you're on the tip of the spear with all of this. What do you make of the Biden's really the about face, if you will, about the building of the border wall there in Texas?
You just had 2 clips that were absolutely ludicrous. First of all, for the president to say he has no choice, the border has been lawless since he took office. He's not enforced one bill, one law on the border. It's lawless. He basically thinks the law is irrelevant. He thinks Congress is irrelevant, that he will do what he wants to on the border, which is an open border policy. And for Mayorkas to say that walls don't work, walls do work. I have always said, build the wall. We will back it up with other measures, but build the wall because walls work. We need a wall. Let's get to it.
Yeah, and I would imagine Mayorkas has some sort of barrier around his house. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. You know, it strikes me, as you said, though, that the Biden administration, are they really as powerless as they're trying to make themselves out to be, especially when you look at an untold number of issues that this administration has changed, has utilized and even usurped, in some cases, power and authority in order to push their policies forward. Are they really as powerless as the president's seemingly trying to portray?
No, absolutely. They have used their power to the utmost during his 2 years in office. They have basically done what they want to. They ignore whatever laws they want to ignore, and they do whatever they want to. I mean, this is basically, you want to talk about chaos. Many people talk about the Republicans being in chaos. This Biden administration is creating chaos across America. I mean, it is evident in every area, and that's why we have a movement growing today across America of frustration, of anger with the federal government. Pick your issue. Is it inflation? Is it spending? Is it the border? Is it the weaponization of the federal government? 18 cars pulling up in the middle of the night, breaking down your door, hauling you out, half dressed. I mean, pick your issue. But there is a movement growing of anger against the federal government. And I think they're starting to see the pressure, Jody, because they're starting to see that people are not now laying down as much for their bold actions as they used to be. People are starting to become awake, and I hope the movement grows.
Well, extremely well said. And, you know, I've heard the analogy, the word picture before, that this administration is like arsonists. They set something on fire, and then when it's burning down, they come riding up with a water hose and try to claim themselves as heroes. But that's exactly what you're saying. It is an administration of chaos. Why do you think they are so opposed to the border wall?
Because they have an open border policy. They want to get as many people into the United States, believing that we citizens have a very short memory, and in short order, they will have more dependence on the federal government, that they will now control all of the welfare, all of the programs, and they will be so huge, we will never be able to get our $33 trillion in debt back under control. We have got to start whittling away at that $33 trillion in debt. And frankly, this year we're not doing it. We're just not going to be able to get there, Jody. But we've got to make the changes we can incrementally this year so that next year in a more secure conference, we can make better changes. We won't get there this year, but we've got to hold the line this year and until we can make more changes to get that debt under control, to cut the spending. I've heard talk of a debt commission. I would love to see a debt commission, much like the BRAC commission, where we would have a bipartisan commission to handle even mandatory programs and then bring it to the floor of the House and the Senate for an up or down vote. I hope we move to that because that's a good idea. Maybe its time has now come.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And again, what you just described is yet another example of this administration creating chaos. But I'm sure you probably heard coming into the intro, the president has said it's a fact that you're really better off than you realize. It's phenomenal how this administration ignores the truth.
It is, Jody. When you look at a 16 or 17% increase in prices for gas, groceries, and rent, and a 3% real cut in your wages, you're real close to a 20% decline in your quality of life. Our families are now paying $700, $1,200 more dollars every month just to get by. Middle-class families can't afford that.
They can't. Thank you, U.S. Representative Keith Self from Texas. Have a great weekend. Thank you for joining us.